Hey guys, welcome to my first YouTube video ever, and that's going to be a deck list for White Woods Runick, so let's hop right into it. First off, I'm on 3 Sylvie. Sylvie is really good. Sylvie is your White Forest spell trap search, and it's also a level 4 tuner, which helps with synchro plays. It also has a secondary effect that all level 4 White Forest monsters have, and you can put back one of your White Forest synchro monsters from your graveyard or field back into your extra deck to special summon itself, and that comes up for dodging bestials, protecting your on-field White Forest monsters, and yeah, can end up being pretty good. And it also shares that secondary effect with the next 3 of, which is Rushia. Rushia is just basically one of the extenders of your deck. You can special summon it if you control a White Forest monster, and another effect on it is you can send a spell trap from your hand or field to the graveyard to draw a card. So with this card, you can cycle through your spell traps, and you can also send Fountain and then add Fountain back with Diabell, and then recycle the draws off Fountain with it. So that's a pretty fun combo. And then onto our level 2s from White Forest, we got LZ. This card is, I want to play it at 3, but I only have 2 copies of it right now because it's kind of expensive. I think it's around $20, but that price might vary, of course. But its effect is you can discard a card, spell trap, or send it from your field and special summon it from your hands, and then add a White Forest monster from your deck to your hand. So this is pretty much the bread and butter of the deck. Like, if you can get into this, that's cool, but if you don't have it, you can get it from a search from one of your synchro monsters. I think it's Roselia, I believe. Yeah. And then also, when a spellcaster tuner is special summoned during your opponent's turn, you can add it back to hand, so that recycle effect is great. Next up, we have the one of Astalar. Astalar is the stand-in copy of LZ right now because I don't have a 3rd copy, but this card can be pretty good because you can special summon it off Woes, and then it can special summon itself if a monster sends a spell trap from field or graveyard to activate its effect. So it's kind of a good extender. I mean, I wish I had another LZ, but it works out pretty well. Also on normal summon, you can special summon, you send a spell trap from hand or field to special summon a White Forest monster. So this is how you get into your other tuners as well, like the Sylvie and Rushia if you want those. Next up, we have spells and traps of the deck. It's a very short monster list. So here are the White Forest spell traps. I'm on 1 Tails because it is searchable, and it does come up for rank 4 plays if you normal summon Sylvie, and that's all that you have. It's also just a great extender to get to LZ and stuff like that because it adds a White Forest monster. The only drawback to this card is you have to control an illusion or a spellcaster monster. So it's like it's a good rota, but like, come on, Konami, it could be better. And then also Woes. This is by far the best spell and trap card for White Forest. It lets you special summon a White Forest monster from your deck, and then immediately after you can synchro summon. And so one of the fun things you can do with this deck is you can use one of the level 4 spellcasters to put a spellcaster or one of your synchro monsters from grave into the extra deck, and that's Chainlink 2 with Chainlink 1 Woes, and so it resolves backwards. You go Rushia, and then Woes summons a level 2 body from deck, and then you immediately get to synchro summon to your level 6 synchro monsters, White Forest synchro monsters, so that can end up being pretty potent in itself. That's all for the White Forest engine. Next, we move on to Runick. This is a really standard package for Runick. 2 Fountain, 3 Tip here, 3 Slumber, 3 Freezing Curses, 3 Destruction, 3 Flashing Fire, and then I am on the 1 Smiting Storm and on the 1 Dispelling as well, as just like a kind of little extra follow-up. If you're trying to deck something out, Smiting Storm is pretty good, and Dispelling can be decent when your opponent adds a card from deck to hand. But yeah, that's the entirety of the Runick engine. It's pretty self-explanatory. Like it's oh, and also one of the other synergies that Runick has is that you can normal summon any of the level 4 White Forest tuner monsters, and immediately with the Hugin that you special summon, you can go into one of the level 6 Synchro monsters for White Forest, so that synergy is absolutely incredible. And plus the Hugin's discards, when you search for Fountain, proc both Woes and Tails to reset themselves, so that's a good way to retain resources. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Next up, we have non-engine. I'm on 2 talents. Honestly, I'm looking to cut one of them for 1 day of peace because it's honestly just one more card to dig with and stuff like that. And I'm thinking of putting an Upstart in, maybe just a single copy of Upstart, but I'm not sure because when you're cycling through your Runick spells and drawing a lot, seeing 2 triple tactics talents in your hand is, it's not exactly great. Then we also have 3 Dark Ruler No Mores. These have been exceptional. I've played this deck twice so far, so I'm a bit new to it myself, like at locals. But the Dark Ruler No Mores for going second, because this deck is insanely strong going first. You can put up some pretty decent boards, and then additionally having Runick spells on top of that. But going second, it struggles a little bit, so it needs those cards to push through a little bit. So that's one of the board breaker cards I have. Another board breaker that I have is the triple evenly matched as well. And the reason that you're able to get away with playing these, these board breakers when you're predominantly trying to go first is that you can pitch any of them for all your White Forest monsters as cost to gain their effects. So that's pretty strong. And then additionally, the worst part about this deck, the funnest part I say, is the floodgates. 1 skill drain and 1 Tikaboo. Skill drain is pretty much a staple from this deck. Every deck profile you'll ever see will run skill drain pretty much for White Forest Runick, but I added Tikaboo because when it really comes down to it, you control monsters of different types a lot of the time, especially when you have like a Chang Ying, like a Silvera or something like that on field. So if you're playing, this is also for Yubel Fiendsmith. When that comes up, this card is insanely destructive. And you already have, usually I flip this late and go through all of my combos with the Woe special summoning itself, or more synchro monsters and stuff like that. So this can be pretty potent, but the skill drain is, this card has single-handedly won me a lot of matches. And the best part about both of these is you can out both of them using your, your White Forest cards, because they send for cost. So especially with skill drain, Tikaboo can be a little iffy because you can't special summon more monsters, so you can't even activate the effect in the first place. But skill drain, you can send it immediately and then get the effects that you need. So that's pretty strong. And you can also add both of them back with Diabell when Diabell is summoned. And anyways, yeah, that's everything for the main deck. Let's hop right into the extra deck. Runick Engine. We are on 3 Hugin. Pretty self-explanatory as well. The reason you won 3 of these is because of the level 2 body. It just, you fly through these really fast with the amount of synchro summoning that you do. So 3 is really ideal for it. And like I said earlier, when you pitch one of the White Forest spell traps, you can reset it when you're using Hugin's effect to search for Fountain. And then you're on 1 Gary as well, just in case you need to recycle a Fountain or something like that. He hasn't really come up for me, but I mean, he's there just in case I need him. Moving on to the White Forest monsters. First of all, we have Rasilia, which is the bread and butter of your first combination that you do, usually when you go first. Its effect is you can send a spell trap from your hand or field to the graveyard and then add a White Forest card or a light spellcaster monster. Oh, wait, is it tuner? Yeah, just a light spellcaster monster. So you could, if you really wanted to, you could search Veiler with this, which is honestly one of the things that I'm thinking of doing, is cutting a triple tactics talent for a Veiler. So just in case the Veiler play comes up, then I have that. And its secondary effect is that, let me read this real fast. Illusion and spellcaster synchro monsters you control gain 500 attack and they can't be destroyed by card effects. So that's pretty decent as well. A little bit of like blanket protection on your White Forest monsters. The next one is Silvera, and this was the funnest one of the deck. This is what you usually make with Woes and stuff like that. And when it's special summon, not synchro summon, when it's special summons, you can book all of your opponent's monsters. So they all get flipped face down, and that can be pretty disruptive in itself. But also you get to inflict piercing damage when it attacks. And just like Resilia, all spellcaster and illusion monsters gain 500 attack, so it's pretty decent. It's pretty decent. The booking part is like the predominantly best effect. And here's the level 8. Oh, by the way, these are tuners as well. So you can go Hugin, special summon a Hugin, and then synchro summon using both of these. 2 + 6 makes 8. And we're about to move into that level 8 monster, the singular one we play in the deck. And that is Diabell. Diabell is an insanely strong card. When it's synchro summoned, you can add a spell trap in your graveyard back to your hand. So this is how you recycle fountains. This is how you recycle skill drains. This is how you add stuff from your graveyard back to your hand that you need. And additionally, you don't have to pitch anything for cost for this. You just get it for free. And that's really strong in itself. But its other effect is strong as well. When your opponent activates a card or an effect, you can special summon a level 7 or lower tuner synchro monster from your extra deck. So that means you can summon either one of these guys, because both of these are tuners. And I usually don't end up doing that, but the Silvera comes up with a Diabell occasionally. But what you usually summon is something else that I'm about to show you guys. And that would be the Zapper Shrimp. The Zapper Shrimp is what you summon, well, I summon personally most off Diabell, especially in the Fiendsmith Yubel matchup, and destroy their Nightmare Pain. Because when it's special summoned, you can discard a card and then pop a spell trap, and it also has a quick effect to synchro summon, so you can use it to make a 10 or an 8 depending on how strong your starting hand is. Next off, we have the Synchro 6s. I play 3 of them. First off being Coral Dragon, and that's because it's really easy to make. It gets sent to graveyard to draw a card. It's also a Synchro tuner as well. And you, yeah, it's pretty decent. I don't end up making it a lot, but the one thing that I do end up making a lot is the Tri-Edge Master. And that's with the tuna 4, you get to draw a card. And usually I end with Diabell and Tri-Edge Master on my field because I get that additional draw. And if I want to, I can synchro summon, making an 8 with him. But I usually just use him for the draw. You could go further and play 2 synchro 10s. But I just don't have Chaos Angel and stuff like that, or the synchro 10s that I'm looking for. So this is kind of my in-between card. And then just one more experimental card. I'd honestly recommend playing an SP Little Knight or another synchro 10 instead of this. But I'm on Mind Castling, which is, it's all right. It hasn't really come up that much, but my theory is being able to snatch steal 2 cards in one turn potentially has, I don't know, some benefits, because you can swap, what is it called? You can swap, for its secondary effect when it's sent to graveyard, you can swap Runick monsters with it that you special from the extra deck. So it's kind of a tech that hasn't come up. I only played it in one of my locals games and it never came up. It's a fun little card. And then this card, Ching Ying, is easily one of the best cards in the deck. It's if a card is banished, it can banish a card from your opponent's field and graveyard non-target, so that's pretty strong. Also, it gains 500 attack and defense for every banished card, and your opponent's monsters lose that much. So it's also like a blanket attack and defense gain, or attack and defense loss for your opponent, and then it gains it itself. So when you're skipping your battle phases and stuff like that, that can be pretty strong to weaken your opponent's monsters. And yeah, so it's pretty strong. It's good. The banish effect's what comes up the most, because that synergizes with the Runick quick plays really well. And then onto our Xyz monsters. I play 1 Baguska, just in case your board is super decimated, and the only things you can do is use a Gary or a Sylvian Arushia, and you just need to stall out for longer, maybe a mass advantage with your fountain. And so that's pretty strong. This has only come up once so far, but it's kind of a last-ditch card. You usually don't make it. Additionally, a last-ditch card is the Exiton Knight as well, which can be, if you're like really strapped, you can use the Exiton Knight to just nuke the field and, you know, just clear the board state. And then the very last card I play in the deck is the Typhon. Same thing with Typhon. I just added this to the deck. I haven't tested it yet, but you can just slap it over one of the Runick extra deck monsters, one of your monsters. It's a last resort card. That one's also pretty self-explanatory. So that is the end of the deck profile. I'm going to walk you guys through one of the main combo lines that I use. So yeah, let's come right up. Alright, let's hop straight into the combo proportion of this video. So here is our test hand, and this hand for a test hand, for going first at least, this hand is pretty decent. You have access to Fountain, and you have Sylvie, so you can get to the woes of the White Forest pretty easily with that. So we'll start with, let's say I'll start with Sylvie to try to bait out an Ash or an Imperm or something like that. So we'll go with Sylvie, and for this video, I'm just going to say there's no hand traps being used by some fictional opponent just to make things simpler. Go ahead and add woes here to our hands. And then now we're going to use Runick Tip to search for Fountain here. Banish the top card of my opponent's deck. And here's our Fountain. Now we're just going to go ahead and activate Fountain. And then we are going to use Smiting Storm here to special Hugin from deck. And this is where the synergy of Runick and White Forest monsters come into play, because Hugin is a level 2 non-tuner and Sylvie is a level 4 tuner. And the best part about that is you get to make level 6 synchros using the Hugin as a 2. That's why you play 3 Hugin in the extra deck. So here, after we summon Hugin, we're going to use Fountain. Let me just cut my deck real fast. Put both of our quick play Runick spells at the bottom of our deck and draw 2 here. Okay, so that's nothing spectacular. But with the amount of Runick cards in hand, my thought is maybe we could recycle the Runick Fountain with Diabell. So we'll try this out. So we'll go here and here. 4 plus 2 equals 6 for Resilia. And then I'm going to use the effect of Resilia and send Runick Fountain, to graveyard to search for a White Forest card or a Light Spellcaster tuna. So this, like I mentioned in previous parts of the video, can get you into, what is it called? Effect failure. It can get effect failure into your hands. But this deck list is not on effect failure at all, so it's not quite a possibility for us. And now we're going to use the effect of LZ from hand to discard a card and special summon itself, spell trap card. So I'm going to discard Dispelling and special summon LZ. And then in the same chain that it summons, I can add a White Forest monster from my deck to hand. And we're going to add Rushia, because what Rushia allows us to do is not only have a draw power, discard a spell trap, draw a card, but she can also special summon herself from hand if I control a White Forest monster. So we're going to save this in hand for a little bit later, and we're going to go 2 plus 6, all these synchros, level 6 synchros are tuners. 2 plus 6 equals 8. And now we're going to summon Diabell, and the Diabell's on summon effect lets us add a spell trap from grave to hand. So here we're going to target the Fountain and recycle Fountain, because Fountain is not a hard once per turn, it's a soft once per turn. So we're just going to add it back here. And now next, we're going to use Rushia's effect to special summon itself from hands. And now we're going to reactivate Fountain. And we're going to use the effect of Rushia to send, say, like Freezing Curses to grave from our hand to draw another card. So here's Sylvie for follow-up for next turn. And now I'm going to use the effect of Rushia to special summon another Hugin from the extra deck. So we're going to go here. And then since I recycled the Fountain, I can go 1, 2, and 3 to the bottom of my deck to draw 3 cards. Upstart was added to this list. I took out the 1 copy of T3 and put an Upstart in. That's why this is here, just for clarification. And now we have a completely new recycled hand. And we are going to go 2 plus 4 equals 6. So we're going to go ahead and make the Triad Master. And Triad Master will let us draw a card. And then now, with our hands, we're going to use Upstart to draw another card. And so this is where you can stop, and this is where I do usually end up stopping. But you could also, if you were running Chaos Angel, or you just wanted to make the Qing instantly here, you can use the effect of Rushia or Sylvie to recycle, put the Resilia back into the extra deck and special summon itself. So then you'd have a 4 body on field, plus your Triad Master, and that'll automatically make a 10 synchro. But I usually don't play that often because you can do it with Diabell and Zapper Shrimp next turn, because Diabell lets you, when your opponent activates a card effect, you can summon a level 7 or lower tuner. And so you summon the level 2 of Zapper Shrimp, and then Zapper Shrimp can on summon pop a spell trap, and it can also quick synchro. So you just use the Diabell and the Zapper Shrimp and to go into Ching Ying. So I usually don't end up doing that. I usually set my hand. So Tikaboo and Skill Drain, both of these are insane cards to actually end up drawing into. These are your like main floodgates, and you're only pretty much floodgates. Set those two, and then we're also gonna set the Woes, and we also end with Slumber in hands, plus 2 Sylvies and a Fountain. So this is pretty strong because you have a ton of interruptions. You have Tikaboo as a floodgate, you have Skill Drain as a floodgate, and then you also have the effect of Woes. And when you activate Woes, let's say it's the start of our opponent's turn or something like that, or let's just say there's a scenario we want to activate it. We will use Russia's effect in Grave to put Resilia back in the extra deck as Chainlink 2, and Woes is Chainlink 1, so it resolves backwards. So we go back into the extra deck, summon Russia, and then we summon from deck. At this point, I like summoning Astalar from deck to have another Grave effect. And then we immediately make a 6 here, and we summon our either what you need, Rosilia or the Silvera. I usually go for Silvera for the Book of Moon. And here's your Silvera, and you get to Book of Moon your opponent's entire field. And also on a new chain link, you can use LZ to add itself back to hands because you special summon the Light Spellcaster Tuner. So this goes back to hand to be recycled. And yeah, so it's pretty strong. You also have Diabell effect. So we'll just like do a mock line of Diabell or something like that. Diabell effect to send a spell trap for hand or field the grave. Here we'll probably just send Fountain. And we will summon Zapper Shrimp. And I'm not going to use Zapper Shrimp's effect because, you know, my opponent doesn't have any spell trap because I don't have one. And we'll just quick synchro from here into Ching Ying. And that's just a pretty standard line. It's pretty simple. There's not much to it, and I don't really vary from this unless I need to, because you can recycle the Diabell back into the extra deck and then use the Zapper Shrimp with Triad Master to summon itself, but that's kind of like, it doesn't really do anything besides add a spell trap, so I usually don't do that. And this is where Tikaboo really comes heavily online because you control a spellcaster, a warrior, and a worm. And so this is pretty game ending, not super game ending, but for Yubel Fiendsmith, this is really strong against them. Yubel not so much, Skill Drain not so much, but it's still a strong floodgate in the meta today. So yeah, that's our test hand, and thank you guys for watching this video. This is my first video of all time, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to do that. Anyways, have a wonderful day.